It's all go this morning. I have 3 bullocks from Malton. They're loaded alright, but just as we're getting them in the loading shed, not one but 2 big lorries arrived with bits of phone mast on them. And I said, well, I'll be about half an hour before I'm actually setting off, because I hadn't loaded them at that point. And I said, oh, we'll get one unloaded before, because we had to block the road. It actually took, he said it would take half an hour, it was more like 3/4 of an hour, which is still sort of alright. But anyway, we're away now, and it's only about 10 o'clock. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Is it what the phone says? About 9:58, so the clock in here is a bit fast, in fact. The 3, it often happens, it's really difficult to ascertain the size of these bullocks when they're in the shed. I mean, I know they're quite big, considering they're only just over a year old. There's 3 in there, and it's making it grow a bit. But I am getting up here in a second. But they'll make quite good money, these, because the fat ones are going now. A lot of them are making over £2,000 a piece. So these are going to make, you know, they're only like 3 or 4 months off being fit, 6 months at most, and I think they'll make £1,200 most likely, or thereabouts, but certainly well over 1,000. You never can tell. I mean, it's one of these so-called special sales where there's more than normal in, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of bites. It's a nice mild dry day. That'll encourage people to come around if it was snowing or something. But if it was snowing, I wouldn't have gone, but I would have gone if it was wet and foggy. So anyway, I had ample time. I checked the tyres and everything, tyre pressures. I know you should do that anyway, but generally speaking, they look alright. There's not too much to worry about, especially with sheep. When you've got 3 big cattle and you really want to be checking them properly. And then they were all good anyway. I just put a little burst in, because I just from the bit you lose checking the pressures. It's actually surprising. They're recommended to be on 70 psi, this trailer, well, I usually run them about 60. And it seemed perfectly alright. But anyway, you only need a very quick burst of air to get from sort of 58 to 60 or 62. So that didn't take long, but I had a few little extra jobs to do while I was waiting. They were funny, I mean, one of the tricky bits can be separating the ones you want out into the yard, and the 3 I wanted, they just happened to be there right by the gate looking out, and the first one went out and was prancing and dancing about, and the other 2 just followed them. But the problem was, they were so keen on playing about in the yard, they couldn't believe how nice it was to be outside, that they didn't really want to go around the corner into the loading shed, but eventually we got there. But it was funny that these phone mast sections, there's 2 lorry loads of them, and you'd have thought someone would have been there to tell them where to put it. I mean, it's only common sense in a way, if one's got the right site. quad bike coming up. Look at all the crap on it. The cross is covered in crap. And it isn't just the odd little flower or two, there's wreaths of holly, things taped round it. Disgusting. I'd have to have a compost bin there next. It's a rare rarity to see a police car. Man, they have been quite active lately. There had been a spate of vehicle thefts, mainly vehicles, other things like tools and that as well, the usual chainsaws, quad bikes. But there'd been 2 taken from a farm at Cropton, and they drove them with no lights on at about 8:30 at night, following a car with lights on, obviously. They went from Cropton over the moor to down into Glaisdale, through Rosedale, bottom half of Rosedale, Glaisdale. Then they went along the Esk Valley through Howlsyke, Danby and Castleton, and then they went over the Lockwood Beck Road and were last seen heading down through Moorsom. And through every village they went through, people noticed them and reported it. They'd been nicked, surely. And they were. But no one was 100% sure. I mean, there might have been some other reason why that was happening. Well, another thing that has happened, which is, I wouldn't say it's more disturbing, but it's more surprising, there'd been like a more upmarket car stolen from outside somebody's house. And the way they'd done it, I mean, I've sort of heard of this, but this seems to be almost conclusive evidence that they can do it. They'd stood outside the house, at the back of the house, and the keys had been somewhere in the house. I don't know how close, maybe near the back door. But they'd triggered the key or whatever you do, and cloned it onto like a laptop or a tablet or phone, I suppose. And then made a clone key from the information that had somehow downloaded. Well, I think that's just shocking that you can do that. I mean, obviously, if you know it's a real thing, well, if it's a common thing, the manufacturer ought to be supplying a box or something you must keep a key in, I don't know, that stops it. Well, you can imagine having one made out of, well, even tin foil. I don't suppose it has to be all that heavy, but lead, a metal box, and obviously just keeping it away from the door might be a plus point. I think you must have to be fairly close to it. Surprises me, this pickup. It can sometimes be better to be in 4th gear, sort of bumbling along like this, quite smoothly, at about 50, rather than thinking, oh, I'll just about manage 5th. You can't manage 6th the door with a trailer load on. 5th is alright sometimes. Depends which way the wind is. But generally speaking, I think you're better off sticking in 4th. It says it's doing around 25 to mpg, I think, on average. At the moment it's dropped down to 20 because you're going to your bill. But a minute ago it was on 50. It's funny, back in the day, in the 60s, that little bank there was actually quite a struggle for a lot of cars. I remember we had we had. I remember. I think it was a Wolseley or an Austin Cambridge, and you had to like down into second gear to get up there. Things like Morris Miners would be into third. Well, maybe, I don't know about third, because they probably only had 3 gears, didn't they? Anyway, whatever, they certainly had to change now. One 170 there. I think diesel heading up again. There's supposed to be the European Union were allowing some diesel, like refined diesel rather than oil, from Russia, or it might have been via some other country, and they decided in their wisdom they're not going to do that anymore. So they're buying, even if we didn't actually have any of that, they're buying what we might have had. So the price is going to go up. Diesel, probably, at least in the short term. Again. Whereas apparently Europe, for some unexplained reason, they can they have more capacity for refining petrol than they really need, so they've actually got a sort of surplus, and that explains partly why the petrol price is lower. Lower, quite a lot lower than diesel, but it's partly taxation as well. We may get straight through here, I don't know. Depends how much dithering there is. Oh no. They were just stopping, I think. I saw them moving, and definitely can't go then because it's on red. Oh no, it's just going to green now. And it's just about 10:30, so it's certainly not late. I'm later than I would have hoped to be. I would have been 20 minutes sooner at least if it hadn't been for a thingy bob sat in yard, bumming it up. All on 170.9. Well, Gisborne yesterday was 169, but I used the fuel card and got it for 157 or thereabouts. It might have been point something. What's with all these cyclists today? They're everywhere. I suppose it's because it's dry weather. I think there'll soon be some daffodils out down here. I saw some at home were showing the buds in a sheltered spot, not in my garden, but somebody in the village. There are some like extraordinarily early types that the flower almost a bit. They sort of put the flower bud up much sooner than the more traditional ones that flower more like April or late March anyway. So you do see odd ones. Much earlier. It seems quiet down here today. Makes a change. You haven't got a road closed somewhere that we've had to avoid as yet. Coming along here is a bit like going over a rough old track on the moor. It says it's 13 degrees down here. I take it with a pinch of salt though. It's alright. I think it's a little bit high all the time, and partly because it's in near the engine obviously, but it's probably, oh, now it's gone down to 12, so it's probably is more like 11 or 12. But it was 10 degrees at home, even in the middle of the night at one point. But even tomorrow it's going a bit colder, like. That's an unusual trail, isn't it? So it's about 11 o'clock, I'll be back by about 11:45, which isn't too bad.